Some of them things you can't make them think to see well. You could go in our parts, listen by it, you know. Everything is outside now. Yeah. And if I ever bring anything with anybody outside, they want to pay money first day. And when I pass the money in front, because me bringing that man, it stick up in my hand, there, I do.
Well, it's about what was it, 2:45 in the afternoon. It's the 6th Saturday, April, the 6th month or the 4th month or whatever. Yeah, some shit like that. Hey, thanks for all the people that subscribed, you know. I appreciate it, y'all. It might not be the most interesting and all, but, you know, I do talk about more than just radio stuff. And a lot of times I talk to people on the radio about more than just radio stuff. Remember, doesn't need an infrastructure. You know, I got this radio right here. Alright. Hook it up to a power supply, which I got batteries. I got it running off batteries. But hook it up to some kind of power supply. Get you some coax and an antenna. Make sure your SWRs are alright. And you are pretty much in a basic way on the air. I'm not saying this radio in particular. I'm just saying a decent radio. You know what I mean? I mean, me, I kind of like the Strikers and I like the Anytones. they get good audio, and I like sideband, so I like talking on sideband, the good sound sideband. But anyway, this doesn't need an infrastructure. And the powers that be, they want to keep us all, dependent on their infrastructure. And that's like with cell phones. And I mean, honestly, man, if we get our creativity, there's so many people out there that are electrical engineers and experimenters and stuff like that. If we, you know what actually breeds like invention is necessity. It'll get to the point where we will have to figure out a way to communicate and share videos, share information, all this other stuff without the infrastructure. I mean, it would be kind of cool if I could send videos like this, like, send videos and share and all that stuff and get comments and all that other good stuff, but using my CB radio to do it. Wouldn't that be fucking awesome? Because all I would have to do is just plug the damn thing in, put an antenna up, and I'm pretty much on the air. And I can see you. We can send videos, be like a live chat. I mean, this is totally like sci-fi, but I mean, telling you, it will get to the point where it'll be a necessity for us. And really, it's getting that way because the way they're trying to squeeze down on free thought. I mean, wouldn't it be nice if you didn't have that threat always hanging over you, that you could probably do something wrong that somebody thinks is wrong and you can get fined or put in jail or beat up or, and tased or even shot because somebody said you can't have that or you can't do that. And I mean, you really are not a free person. You're not a free man. You're not a free man or woman. Let me correct myself. A person is fake, is not real. So we are flesh and blood men and women, all right? A flesh and blood man and women is not a free men or women if we always got to ask permission. If we've always got to ask permission, we're not really free. We got to ask the master, right? What the fuck is that shit, man? Excuse me, but I'm saying. If you got to ask permission, you are not a free man or woman. The corporation they created, they actually fooled our parents into getting this binding contract, which is like also made into a trust, which is your birth certificate. That number is a trust, and it was actually, when it was created by the government, by this government corporation, this fake entity anyway. This magic it does by writing something on paper, and therefore everybody has to follow it. But anyway, I kind of ramble on sometimes, and I kind of lose. Go off the track I was going. You guys understand, I am sure. But there's so many angles, so many different types of lines on the web. I mean, it really is. If you kind of almost compare it to a spider's web, every single line and every single intersection actually is like, if you're standing back and looking at the whole, that's what it kind of looks like. Now, if you zoom right in on one of those intersections, that's all you're looking at. You're only looking at that intersection right there. But you have to zoom out and look at the whole damn web that is designed to catch so the master can kill you. or drain your blood. And yeah, but we need to get away from this infrastructure. Everything from like electric bills to depending on this damn food that is shipped in from freaking Mexico and crap, fucking, beef and chicken, industrial farms, and how, I mean, you think about it, the type of food that those animals eat, and the type of stress that it has to deal with from birth till death. You think about what it does to the mind, and that mind affects the whole body. It's the same thing with cows and chickens, dude. You're eating that shit. And I agree. Hey, I love ground beef now, but if I can find wild stuff, that's another thing. But it's not all the time, and I don't go out hunting as much as a lot of people do. And but I like having the wildlife come up here in my yard, because if need be and I get hungry enough, I will shoot that sucker and I will eat it. You know, I've got different methods of killing that sucker and I will eat it, but I want it to be comfortable enough, because I got a lot of neighbors that hunt, alright, and honestly I'd rather them be like, that's not a bad place, I don't get messed with over there. So if it ever come down to the shit hit the fan scenario, the deer don't get big deer by being stupid. You know what I mean? But I got a lot of neighbors that will hunt them down and stuff like that, and it will probably be like a refuge to them in their eyes, because they come here a lot and they don't get messed with. I let them wander through and do their thing and feel comfortable, I don't scare them off. I sometimes I take video or pictures of them or whatever, but everything from deer to turkey to whatever that might walk through there, it's definitely edible. But they want to control the food sources, they want to control the water sources, they want to control our electricity sources, our property, when it comes down to our personal and private property. And if you go into our law dictionary, you can find out the definitions are actually different. They're not the same thing. And then, you can always go into a lot of stuff. When it comes down to looking at this legalese crap, this damn mumbo jumbo shit that they speak in their religion of law, or whatever this shit is, this fucking, this magical power. You write something on this paper and poof, everybody must obey, everybody must bow down, put your ass up and get fucked. You know what I mean? And if you don't like it, well shit, guess what? People with guns will come to you and force you, and against your will, to comply. Don't resist. Obey. Comply. You know what I'm saying? Have you ever noticed that even when it comes down to movie and televisions and music, how it's really just regurgitated the same old shit over and over and over, and if it's not the same stuff, it's just something that is the same thing, just made different and new or whatever. It's the same goddamn thing, but it's just regurgitated and spit out over there and be like, yeah, that's a song, or that's a movie, or or a TV show. Yeah, fuck, dude. All this infrastructure, TV, that's another thing. TV, oh my god. And you know what I mean? Even with the music thing. I mean, seriously, I know there's a lot of people out there that are very creative and very musical, like I did years ago, but I know they're out there, and they're playing in their garages, they're playing little holes in the wall places, or they're just playing in wherever. And, but that isn't what is reaching everybody. And even with this modern technology, I don't know if it's really reaching. It may be, and I'm just not seeing it, but it may be. But because it's being blocked by, like America Got Talent, which is bullshit, and all that other crap like that, stuff like that ruins and just regurgitates all this same old pop fucking bullshit, just that's got this same old fucking blah blah whatever. It's really, I'm gonna tell you, man. Me personally, I grew up in my teenage years. I grew up with heavy metal and punk bands. I also used to help out in recording studios and 2 recording studios in a nightclub that dealt with punk bands and heavy metal bands. And so I mean that's where I come from on the music industry, I guess. But that's what I like, is I like that edge, because honestly a lot of punk bands actually, man, a lot of it could be kind of considered noise. It really could be. But I'm gonna tell you, there's a lot of it that was really had an edge. It actually, and some of it had a really logical political stance behind it, but it had an edge to it. It actually had feeling. These people, a lot of these guys, man, they projected this shit. I mean, it was pretty sweet, and the sounds that were coming out of these instruments, man. And then on top of that, it started getting in when, electronic music, when like Kraftwerk, all that stuff was kind of getting, here in the States, and people were starting to mess around with, synthesizers and all this stuff, man. I'm gonna tell you, I had a friend of mine, I had this damn really cool Korg synthesizer. This sucker was about the size of a piano, man. And this, man, it was so cool, all the different, I mean, you can virtually do it on a damn computer now, but you had this thing and you plugged in wires to all this stuff, man, different ways, and then turn this and that, and you could take a noise and totally make something new. That's what I loved about it, because I was trying, in my own mind, I was looking for certain sounds, and I don't know what they were, but I think I'd know, I have a feeling I would know the sound that I'm looking for when I hear it, or when I experience it, when I feel it, because actually sound, it's a feeling, it's a vibration, it's and then everything in life has a vibration, everything, and I'm telling you, man, that's why you really gotta, if you really want to do some research, man, really look into the actual technology of 5G and 6G, the millimeter wavelengths that they're using, and even what the military is using those same millimeter wavelengths for. I mean, because they have this thing, what is it, it's called a VMADS, and as an acronym, it's like a vehicle mounted active denial system. It's like this big freaking microwave ray gun they can mount on the damn Humvees and shit, and point it at like crowds, and it's like supposed to be like a non-lethal, a quote unquote non-lethal weapon or crowd control. You know what I mean? It uses, what is it, 95 gigahertz or something like that, and microwaves use a little bit lower. They use like 2 point something gigahertz, but it's still in the same bandwidth. And then the FCC's allowed them, as far as I know, anywhere from 3 to 300 gigahertz in that spectrum they can use for the 5G, 6G. And then you start looking at the actual equipment, because I related to this radio, all right, and the type of coax that I've got coming out of this radio for me to, for a transceiver, so I can receive and transmit out of this radio, how much wattage that coax can handle me transmitting out of it, all right. And then you start looking at the technology of how much they're supposed to be transmitting out of those antennas of the cell towers, the new 5G stuff and all that. And then when it comes, even with the 4G today, but you look at like the 5G stuff, the type of coax, and also the placement of these things. They're going to be placing them like every other, or almost every light pole, or even every other light pole. I mean, seriously, dude. It'll for one, the cancer that it can be causing everybody, all right, because of this, and they're going to have all this deniability or immunity or whatever, so nobody can like actually go after them when they start getting cancer, because this damn thing was right outside their fucking window, and then, you know, and it's transmitting in this millimeter wave out that is actually the frequency range that they're using. It manipulates water. That's why it works for a microwave to cook your food, because it uses the water in it to heat it up. It uses kind of like induction almost. I don't know. I guess that's the word I'm thinking about. But anyway, but it's the same thing even on that active denial system that the military uses. It just doesn't penetrate all the way down. It penetrates just a little bit below the skin level, what they say. But anyway, and it's just supposed to, you know, feel like a burning sensation, and that's what it is. They'll point it directly at like a crowd they want to disperse or back away, and they'll turn it on, and everybody will start getting hot, and they'll turn around and run. You know what I mean? That's like the natural reset. Oh shit, run away, you know. But anyway, if you really look into it, I mean, it really starts looking like more like a weapon system, you know, because everybody would be jacked into it, and what they're trying to do, and what their I guess their end goal is on this thing, they're gonna phase out the 4G phones, where you have no choice whatsoever but to get 5G, 6G like phones and service and stuff like that, because they'll phase it out like the damn record player and the VCR and the fucking cassette tape. You know, they'll just phase it out, where you can't even get anything that, you know, unless you go to like a flea market or a fucking Goodwill or something like that, and you might find a cassette tape. You might even find some cool stuff on vinyl. Who knows? But that's why I say we need to like start our own infrastructure, and not necessarily an infrastructure, but our own network that doesn't rely on an infrastructure. You know, like I said, this radio, for instance, it's a transceiver, receives and transmits a signal out on a frequency. Now, the television does the exact same thing. It's just on a different frequency, and it uses a transmitter. Because, I mean, honestly, it doesn't have a receiver, so you can't, like, talk back to it, you know. But can you imagine if I had, like, a little, like, webcam, like, right here or something like that, and a TV monitor sitting next to it, and I had modded this radio somehow? I don't know, man. I wish I had the tech savvy to do it. I mean, you know, I have the mad scientist vibe in my head, but I really don't. I'll probably burn everything up. But if I can mod some way where every time I key up, I could be sending a video signal out at the same time as I talk, and you know what I mean. And the thing is, everybody's gonna have to get this mod. You know what I mean? Everybody, you know, it's not like just one. You know, if it works, for instance, then nobody would have to have like an infrastructure like a cell service and all that other shit. I mean, no, actually these things, you can put this mobile. I'm thinking out loud. I'm just kind of crazy talk, but think about it. The implications, and honestly, like I said, necessity breeds invention. So if it comes down to it where it'll be a necessity for us to find some way to communicate with each other without the powers that be, quote unquote, or whatever, or the powers that want to be, and you know, that have control over it, you know, where we can communicate without that. I mean, that's what I like about the radio, for one. That's just my opinion. And then you get into this stupid other ham stuff with repeaters. You're relying on an infrastructure. You're not radio to radio most of the time, because you're limited by the FCC on how much wattage you can push out, blah blah blah, whatever, on what frequency and all this other shit. Yeah. I mean, seriously, if you start thinking about it, man. I mean, we were born sovereign, and we were forced into committing fraud and by getting a driver's license, because most of us are not drivers unless you're like driving a truck or like a taxi driver or something like that. Yeah, you're a driver. But if you just got a car or a truck or whatever, and you just use that to go from place to place because that's your property, that's your private property, and you just taking it, which they call traveling, you're just traveling from point A to point B, for instance, that's traveling. That's not driving, if you look at it in the legal sense of it also. But they want to confuse the two. No, they want to force you into committing fraud because you're claiming you're a driver when you go for a driver's license. Anyway, I'm ranting again. I'm sorry. But every once in a while, man, I get on there. And like I said, I was thinking some skip was rolling in because I kept on hearing what I assume was like Barbados or Jamaica or something. Or, I don't know. But anyway, I don't want to make this too long because it takes forever for me to download this crap. But anyway, I'll catch back up with all y'all later.